Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, rated M for mature.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the All-Time Gaming Show, where this week we're going to be talking about GTA Vice City by Rockstar North. And I'm Andres Gallego, a.k.a. Galleghost, and here is the co-host, Steve Cravens.
How's it going, man?
How's it going, dude? We've been wanting to do this one for quite a bit, right?
Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Well, quick intro to the game first. So GTA Vice City was released by Rockstar North, and it was released in 2002 on the PlayStation 2. And in the next year, it got ported over to the various other consoles, the PC, the Xbox. And this game came out 1 year after the mega hit that was GTA 3. So, and for a game that was as big as GTA 3 was, Vice City was one of those rare instances in a sequel that was produced so fast that actually was on par, if not better, than the original.
100%.
Yeah. So a quick thing about what this game added was, they added a sense of style to it. They added a sense of, you being in Florida and it's modeled primarily after Miami, correct, Steve? As you are a Miami native?
Yeah, Miami in the 1980s, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, no, but what this game added was there was just so much more content to it, and there was so much more of a cinematic nature to it in terms of the cutscenes and in terms of the voice talent as well, too. This is also the first time that we got a GTA protagonist that was actually vocal and played wonderfully by Ray Liotta.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so good and added so much personality to the character. And also even the supporting cast as well too. Tom Sizemore, Dennis Hopper at one point, Kyle MacLachlan,
Luis Guzman, just goes on and on and on. Yeah, Chris Penn. No, Chris Penn was in San Andreas. That's right. But Burt Reynolds. Yeah, Dennis Hopper. There was tons of guys in there. It's unbelievable the talent they got for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so funny that all these people are all really, really prominent or really big in the 80s, and it really translated to taking us back to that point in time. And just also just the sense of how I was talking about the style, we never saw a world as vibrant in a open world as we did in GTA Vice City at that point in time. It felt like when you stepped into that game, you were seeing a completely different evolution of what a free roaming city could give you. And also coupled with that, the amazing soundtrack.
The greatest soundtrack ever for a video game, period, bar none.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also the first one that I remember seeing this is back when they were still back in the olden days when you had to go to a music store to get your CDs. Yeah. It was the first one that I saw that they were literally selling huge box sets for every single radio station that they had in the game. And it's the amount of content that they put into not only just the music selection, but also in terms of the DJs, in terms of giving all them personalities, far different personalities than you had in GTA 3, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
But what was the one thing that stuck out to you as soon as you played Vice City for the first time?
First, how vibrant it is. Because, GTA 3, it has the colors, but, New York is also, it's nowhere near as vivid and as alive as Miami in the 1980s is in the game. The sun, over the beaches, the pastel colors, the vintage cars, sometimes you'll see cars from the 50s, sometimes you'll see, 80s Ferraris, in tribute to Miami Vice. It's just driving down South Beach and seeing all the neon signs. Even at 13 years old, which is how old I was when I played that game, even at 13 years old, I just was so blown away by, again, the graphics, even at the time, you knew that the graphics were not, the best just because of how much they're trying to do in the game. They couldn't really afford to do, the graphics that we eventually got with GTA 4 and then eventually GTA 5. But that said, just making the world, making, Vice City, aka Miami, just a living, breathing environment like that. That always stuck out to me. And then, again, we can continue on with it, but that was the first thing that stuck out to me, was just like, oh my God, when you first arrive on the plane and, you have Broken Wings by Mr. Mister in the background when Sonny, has the piles of cocaine on the table.
Yeah.
And he's like, Tommy ViceCity, shit. No, they let him out. So like, that stuff, like just kind of like making you laugh right away and then just kind of immersing you in the world right away. That is Rockstar signature gaming right there. So yeah, that's the first thing that stuck out to me, was the world building.
Well, absolutely. And the thing that opening scene does is it takes it away from just an opening heist like in GTA 3 where it's like, sorry babe, I'm an ambitious girl. No, it takes it into, here is world building, here's character development, here's this guy that is not one to be messed with. And the first thing you do is you play as a guy who just came out of jail and who right off the bat messes up a drug deal and he needs to go out and find that money again. And again, that just in terms of setting up the world says so much in so few sequences. And probably, talking about the things that struck out to us immediately when we first played the game, I have to admit, probably the first thing that struck out to me immediately as soon as I played the game was the big difference between GTA 3 and Vice City, for me at least, was you finally got to ride on motorcycles.
Yeah, that was big. That was big.
Yep. And then all those hopes and dreams were crushed when you realized that the minute you crash in on a motorcycle, you go flying through.
And if you're lucky, you won't die.
Exactly. So it added a sense of strategy to the game as well too, where you could get around faster on a bike and you could speed through traffic, but it was also way more dangerous and you ran the risk of dying during a mission. Probably the other thing I want to ask you as well too is, we briefly touched on this a little bit, but I want to get your opinion on it. The voice talent for the game.
Incredible. I mean, and again, I remember reading an interview with Ray Liotta. I think it was from PlayStation Magazine, actually, where he was, being interviewed about what it's like to be the protagonist in this game. And he was like, there were times, first of all, it was a lot of fun. Going in and recording was a lot of fun. But there were times where I would read the dialogue of what I was saying and be like, you guys can't be serious. Like, there's no way we're going to be able to say this stuff. Like, it's too absurd. It's too absurd. It's too damn vulgar. It's too abrasive. I mean, if you guys want me to say it, I'll say it, but there's no way it's going to end up in the game. Then he was stunned when it ended up getting used. He is great, as Tommy ViceCity. Tom Sizemore, obviously, as Sonny.
Oh, yeah.
Every single voice actor is perfect, as is often the case for Rockstar Games. I mean, no one is miscast, no one sounds off for their character. I can't say enough about the voice acting in the game. I mean, it's just, it's funny, it's intense. It's just, and it contributes to how immersive the game really is, because it makes it much more cinematic having celebrities like that providing the voices, as opposed to, maybe some, standard video game voice actors that are used over and over again, who are very good at disguising their voices and coming up with new character voices. But to hear Ray Liotta, to hear Tom Sizemore, to hear Burt Reynolds, to hear Dennis Hopper, it makes it feel like a much bigger production. It makes it feel like it has much more prestige to it, like you're playing an event. You're playing a movie event or like a television series event. It was much bigger than just a video game. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and I highly agree with you. And in terms of even talking about playing the game as well too, the other aspect I wanted to talk to you about as well was the gameplay. How do you feel the gameplay changed from 3 going into Vice City? And in terms of just what was the big thing that they added that you thought automatically took this up a notch?
Not in terms of the gameplay. You already mentioned riding the motorcycles. I don't think it really changed all that much. It was just a cool add-on.
Oh yeah.
But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think anything for me personally changed that much from GTA 3 to Vice City in terms of gameplay. I know you'll disagree with me in that, but I don't feel, especially again, I was stunned that they were able to make Vice City a year after GTA 3. Like, I'm surprised they put out, I mean, obviously, you know, you have different developers, different studios handling different things under the Rockstar label.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, it still blew my mind because, you know, they used the same engine. And it didn't feel like a simple copy and paste from GTA 3 per se.
No.
Not at all. I mean, it played differently, but I cannot say that it felt drastically different to me. And if it did, I can't remember it that well because the last time I played it, it was in 2015. So I don't remember the gameplay being that much different than GTA 3. Go ahead and educate me on what did change.
Well, probably the big thing, and there's also the thing too that it's very clear with Rockstar Games. Whenever they augment something, they don't augment something that it goes, oh my god, it changes everything entirely. They augment certain things where you go, oh, that should have been there the entire way through. Case in point with GTA Vice City, the difference between GTA 3 and Vice City for me was the fact not only was the environment different, but they also allowed you the ability to go inside buildings.
That's true. They did allow you to do that.
And what that allowed you to do broadened the scale so much in terms of the mission structure, in terms of just what you were able to do in your free time and what kind of chaos you wanted to do in your free time as well. So that was, for me, probably one of the bigger things that they added to the gameplay that made it a tad bit different than GTA 3, which was, you know, mostly an exterior game.
In that case, yeah, you got the motorcycles and, you know, driving the cars. I completely forgot about the ability to go into buildings. As, yeah, that changed missions and everything. I'll go ahead and say this because this is a huge part of my top 5 missions from the game. The ability to drive boats.
Yeah.
I mean, that added a whole different complexity to the game, and it made things much tougher than they needed to be. So yeah, that was my favorite thing, actually. Now that, you know, I'm a little bit more clear on that because I was just thinking like, well, you know, but yes, the addition to the speed boats and the regular boats as well, when you can do speed missions, speed challenges, when you have to protect certain people on yachts, et cetera, and so forth. That was, for me, the biggest thing that they did change, or they added, I should say, not change, added, that I really enjoyed the most.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we can't also forget about the ability to later on in the game buy properties and gain money from those properties as well too. Because the thing is, in GTA 3, it feels like there's a finite amount of money that you can make in missions before you completely run out and you're kind of just left with nothing at the end of the day. And, you know, if you go to ammunition, you can't freaking buy any more guns. It's like, okay, well, you're kind of stuck there. And that was a big flaw for me in GTA 3. Whereas in Vice City, if you maintain these businesses and you run them correctly, and also if you hunt down people that start messing with the business, it becomes something that flourishes, and it gives you a much bigger sense of you becoming this crime lord of Vice City, and it gives you more of a presence in Vice City, and it fully establishes you in that sense. So that I thought was a great change. But I know you're waiting to get to this, so let's just go right into it, man. Top 5 favorite missions from Vice City.
I'll start off with, I mean, and again, when you're talking about any GTA, I mean, you're going to be talking about the missions. This one has some great ones, some for the comedic value, some of it for the gameplay value. I'm going to go ahead, and number 5, I'm going to say Publicity Tour.
Publicity Tour.
Here's one thing that we love with GTA, and indeed with all Rockstar Games again, is their movie homages. And, you know, as much as this game is an homage to Scarface and Miami Vice and Carlito's Way, et cetera, and so forth, I love that this little mission is a complete and utter just love letter to speed. And the comedic value to it. So you're driving in the limo, you're driving Love Fist, and you got a bunch of drunk, high, you know, Scottish guys in the back, and they discover that there's a bomb in there, and you have to, you know, keep speeding until they figure out how to defuse it. So you got a bunch of drunk, high guys in the back screaming and yelling at each other, calling each other names, and trying to figure out how to defuse a bomb, while Tommy is driving 60 miles an hour or whatever it was, 60, 65 miles an hour, and you have to dodge all the traffic because as soon as you slow down, that the freaking detonation meter starts going up, and you're like, oh shit. So that was one of those irritating missions that once it was over, I could appreciate for the comedic value, because listening to them bicker and yell at each other in Scottish accents. I saw this on the telly. I can't figure out which wire it is to pull out. You know,
why is there wires coming out of the vodka bottle? So funny.
It was just brilliant. And that is, again, an irritating mission at first when I first played it, but once you beat it, you kind of appreciate for the comedic value of it all. That Tommy going, oh God, not again at the front seat. Like it's just another day at the office for him.
Another day at the office for Tommy, and then he's just like, God, what did I get myself into? Seriously, guys. But yeah, no, that's a great mission, and that actually will pop up later on my list, actually.
Oh, that's higher. Oh, all right.
For me, I loved the comedic aspect of it, just the characters that are behind it, and honestly, that was one of those missions that never got old for me, and it also was fun in a certain extent because it's like, just keep going and keep going.
Well, also the anxiety when you first play, because you have no idea when they're gonna, they're gonna defuse that bomb, so you just kind of
or if they're gonna do it,
or if they're gonna, yeah. So yeah, that's my pick for number 5, man. That was a great mission publicity tour. What about you?
Absolutely.
What's your number 5? I'm curious for this one.
All right, my number 5 is G-Spot.
Ah, okay, all right.
Yeah, well, the reason why I love G-Spotlight, I said G-Spot, so basically what the mission entails is that Dennis Hopper's character, who is an avant-garde porn director, basically...
Say his name. What's his name? Steve Scott, in reference to Steven Spielberg and Ridley Scott.
Scott, yeah. I completely blanked out the name.
Yeah, it's like Steve Scott.
When the Nympho invaders show up. But so the mission entails that basically Congress is kind of overthrown his ability to advertise Candy Sucks' films across town. So your entire mission is to basically just take your motorcycle and hop from one rooftop to another until you get to a spotlight, and you basically just vandalize it into being the biggest ad in Vice City. And that, to me, it was great in terms of the gameplay, in terms of the hopping from rooftop to rooftop, because we haven't seen that in the GTA game. Just the level of absurdity that comes with that, and also the level of absurdity that comes with the storyline as well too, and what you're doing in that game. And it sums up a lot of what I love about Rockstar in terms of their sense of humor, in terms of their characters, and in terms of just giving you something that will simultaneously be hard, but it will also make you laugh when you're all done with it.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great one. And also just a fun note, when you go to the Colonel's yacht in the beginning and you're introduced to all the characters like Avery Carrington, et cetera, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And you're introduced to, or not introduced, but you see him in the distance, Steve Scott. He's got the viewfinder around his neck, and he's got like the track suit with like down so you can see his hairy chest. He's got like the 80s sunglasses. He's talking to 2 guys. He's like, and then the shark just jumps out of the water and bites their dicks off. he's like, no one's ever seen anything like that before, guys. It's not like clear reference to Spielberg talking about making Jaws to people who he was going to cast, and then the shark jumps out and jumps on the boat. I mean, the little details they have, but yeah, it's hilarious if you don't know about it. But the fact that they did their research and found that story, where Spielberg, when he was pitching the story to Roy Scheider at a bar, said the shark is going to jump out and land on the boat, crack the boat in half. They're like, no, let's make it a porno parody. The shark jumps out, lands on the boat, and just bites their dicks off. I mean, that was brilliant. So yeah, no, great pick for number 5. For me, this goes back to what I was saying about the involvement, or the addition rather, of boats and yachts and speedboats, et cetera, so forth, is All Hands on Deck, where where you help the Colonel escape on his yacht, and you're getting assaulted by guys on boats and on the piers, et cetera, and so forth. I loved that. I thought that was a great piece. The Colonel is one of those characters that you sense you can trust right away, that he's not going to be like any of these other guys who are incredibly shady, who's going to screw you over. And I love that about his character. And I was also sad to see him go, but the gameplay itself was a lot of fun, where you're shooting the guys coming up on speedboats trying to take you out, guys on land that are shooting machine guns at you. I really love that. And the fact that you have to go from one end of the boat to the other, you have to start in the back of the boat, work your way up to the front, Some guys will make it onto the boat. You got to shoot them, etc. before they get to the colonel. I really love that mission. That's my pick for number 4.
Yeah, that one was oddly very diverse in terms of just like it felt like a tower defense type of game, but it felt different in terms of the way that correct me if I'm wrong, not only speedboats were coming in, but also helicopters were coming in and dropping off people as well. That's right. I mean, like you had to pay attention to not only what was going on the sea, but you also had to pay attention to what was going up in the sky as well. That's right. And I thought that was a great way to differentiate the gameplay. And also that was a different thing from GTA 3 is that you got helicopters, but you never got people rappelling down.
Yeah, right. 100%.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick for number 4. That's actually definitely in my honorary mentions, actually. So my number 4 would actually be Copland.
I knew that was going to come up.
Yeah. So basically, what the story is Tommy has become has started to inherit the crime wave, and basically, someone messes up with a bit of evidence that's locked in the police station. So the only thing they can do is they can pose as cops and get in and basically destroy the evidence, and then you have to run the hell out and destroy that evidence. And you're also faced with getting a 5-star wanted for the first time in Vice City. The first thing you gotta do, you gotta get the cops' attention. You gotta sneak them into a freaking lockup.
That's right.
That is great. And then also some of the character moments that come in between Lance and Tommy, where they're like, they're trying to fit into the uniforms. Like, it's a little tight, but
it's tight around the crotch. Oh yeah, mine too.
Mine too. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, definitely. But no, just in terms of the strategy of the game, and also in terms of one other thing that we never got in the original GTA 3 as well, was the ability to change costumes. And that was a big addition to this mission in particular. And it also kind of gave you a little sense of freedom because the minute you snuck into that car, you had carte blanche to do whatever you wanted to do for those 5 minutes in Vice City.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very interesting part of the gameplay, and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, no, absolutely, it was great. It was a
hard mission too. It was one of the harder ones.
Oh well, you remember you and me? We were playing through that one. We had to start that one up quite a bit.
I know. That was brutal. There was a couple we had to start over and over again.
All right, but yeah, what would be your number 3?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because my number 3 would be keep your friends close. I thought that was a great way. That was for getting the gang back together. The Sonny betrayal and the Lance betrayal. Mm-hmm. The Lance betrayal was like, because like again, you play the entire game. And then for that to happen right then and there, you're like, oh, and it just fuels your fucking rage. You want to get Sonny. There's no doubt about it. You want to get Sonny, but you want to get fucking Lance like bad. Like that's your bloodlust right there, is killing Lance for the betrayal.
Oh yeah.
And I love that it was in many ways, an homage to Scarface's, climax at the end.
Well, that's exactly why I love that mission as well too, and I'll just save us some time for a little bit, so we can talk about that one further. My number 3 was actually Publicity Tour, okay. And my number 2 was actually Keep Your Friends Close.
There you go. There you go. I mean, I like great minds think alike, but I mean, again, it was like a playable Scarface. Mm-hmm. And again, for a game that has all those movie references, I really, really appreciate that, especially since you're in Diaz's old house, which is now your house, that is complete design of Tony Montana's house, with the red walls and the paintings and the stairway that kind of leads up right up the middle, and even in the back, with the various little pools and the sculptures and all that stuff, with the hand in the heart and then the hand up like this, like the very royal regal poses that they're doing, and the labyrinth. It was such a beautiful love letter to Scarface. That I mean, again, it's my number 3. I have 2 others ahead of it, but I was tempted to move it higher, but the other 2 took precedence over it.
Ah, yes. Well, no, for exactly the same reason that I love that mission as well too. The love letter to Scarface, and just the sense of just satisfaction that comes as soon as that is over, that you're the grand king of Vice City.
Yeah.
And just the sense of satisfaction that comes from the fact that you start off as somebody who started off really low, and then you're the biggest kingpin in Vice City. It was a very satisfying conclusion to the game. And also it was a very fun mission to play as well too.
Yeah.
But fun thing I loved about that is if you sneak off at some point in time, or you get distracted in the game, if you go off into Diaz's entertainment center, you still see the freaking VHS player that's got the bullet holes.
Again, it's little details like that as well, man. Make it very special.
Yeah, absolutely. So Keep Your Friends Close was my number 2. We already discussed Publicity Tour, which was my number 3. What is your number 3? No, what is your number 2? Sorry.
My number 2 is Rub Out. So now we just talked about that, Keep Your Friends Close being an homage to Scarface. Rub Out is just as much an homage to Scarface, but it's from a different perspective. It's from the perspective of Sosa's guys when they invade Tony's house at the end. Only this time, Tommy and Lance are the guys invading the house to kill Diaz, and Diaz is very much Tony Montana.
Yes.
Even down to his personality. So I love that, and again, that was one of the most satisfying deaths in the history of Grand Theft Auto. Is when you have that shot of Diaz kind of on the floor in his room, and you fuckers, whatever, and then you just have Lance and Tommy with the Desert Eagles pointing at the camera, and then
and you're just like, yeah, no, that definitely did not feel good, and those were pointed straight at his head too.
Yeah, I love that mission because again, that was one of the first really, really challenging missions I remember playing. Oh
God, yeah.
Because it was a long one, man. Like you really you had to plan for that one. Like the first time you played, I doubt very many people that played that mission for the first time actually ended up beating it on the first go. There's too much to it. There was a whole. It's just a really, really fun mission, and I had a blast playing it from start to finish. It is a quintessential Grand Theft Auto mission.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, it's great. So
let me go to your number 1 because I think we share the same number 1.
Let's just say it at the same exact time. Right? Ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. The job. Yep. The job.
I mean, what else can you? I mean, that is. Oh. So choice, but also on top of that too, everything about that mission works so well in terms of the writing, in terms of the gameplay, in terms of even the costume selection as well too. Okay, so we all know I'm a big Friday the 13th guy. What do you dress up as when you go in there? You dress up in a jumpsuit and you have a hockey mask. Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
so good, and then just the banter between between everybody that's on the gig is so great because you're like, oh my God, this is a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. They have no idea what they're doing, and even Tommy has that dialogue in the very beginning of the mission where he's just like, well, come on, man, you've seen movies, like it's all good. It's like, oh shit. This is gonna go so wrong, and then you break into the bank, and then you start going into the vault, and then as soon as you start going into the vault, Tommy heads back downstairs to check up on everything, make sure it's all good, and then all of a sudden the alarm goes off, and you just hear someone go, "I told you not to touch that alarm," and then. So good. And then it's also a great strategy tower defense game as well, too.
Sure.
Again, we're also dealing with the people that are coming through the front, the SWAT team members that are coming through the front of the bank, and then we're also dealing with the SWAT team members that are coming through the skylights.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Another complete homage to Heat as well, which, it's no secret that the guys over at Rockstar absolutely love Heat. I mean, what was it? 4-Leaf Clover in GTA 4, which is considered to be one of the top 3 greatest game missions of all time. GTA 5, you plan several big heists. The job is, that is the father to all of those missions that came in later games, and it was just such a batshit crazy mission. And again, we both love Friday the 13th, so to see them in jumpsuits wearing the Jason hockey mask, come on. Especially since Jason, the first Friday the 13th came out in 1980. Mm-hmm. And this game takes place in 1986, so by then we had Friday the 13th. I think we were on part 6, actually. I think it was Jason Lives.
At that point in, what was it, 86?
86 the game takes place in, yeah.
Yeah, so we had Jason Lives by that point in time.
So there you go. I mean, it's just as much as, they pay homage to Scarface and Miami Vice and all those things, they paid homage to Jason Friday the 13th too, which is also very 80s. So
yeah, all the big 80s staples. I mean, it's so great. It's just really great character building and really great character interactions between all those characters, and it sets the tone so well for everything that came later on.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great. I just want to play that mission again right now.
Again, GTA 3, we talk about, GTA 3, GTA Vice City, San Andreas, even to a certain extent, we go back and forth, which we prefer on any given day. Mm-hmm. But in terms of, like I said earlier, GTA 3 being the breakthrough and GTA Vice City being like the juggernaut train that goes through it, I mean, it really took everything to the next level. We go back and forth between GTA 3 and GTA Vice City and GTA San Andreas, but man, I mean, Vice City really was the brick that went through the plate glass window in terms of building everything that came from GTA games that came down the line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In terms of adding the style, in terms of adding the talent, in terms of adding the small little touches in gameplay that you have always wanted in the GTA game and expanding on that, absolutely. This game is freaking fantastic. And again, like I said earlier, you can't deny that this game is a little better than GTA 3, but also if you're not necessarily into the Miami aspect of the game, you can still love GTA 3 as much for the New York aspect of the game. It really just depends on preference. And the thing is that both games are fantastic, but Vice City is the one that took it to a next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we're about good to wrap it up and give us some closing thoughts.
I mean, greatest soundtrack of all time, some of the greatest missions of all time. Again, being biased, being Mr. South Florida, I mean, greatest environment of all time, greatest setting of all time. Introduced me to some great songs from, Phil Collins and Mr. and, Bryan Adams. I mean, the game is just, I mean, it came out in 2002, but here we are 18 years later, we're still talking about it. We're still very much in love with the game. I mean, that speaks volumes to how well it's aged.
So great. And it's still on the PS4 as well too, as a classic. Yeah. And it still holds up. I mean, like, there's nothing, I mean, the gameplay may be a little clunky here and there, but after a little bit, you get used to it and you tune into that control style and it just becomes second nature. And it's still a fantastic game, even still to this day. I mean,
every department, it's damn near flawless.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that'll about do it for us on the All-Time Gaming Show today. And Steve, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Instagram at High Voltage Sports. I do my own sports page on there. I do High Voltage media on Twitter, Higher Voltages, and also have my website, www.highervoltages.com.
And also you can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Galleghost, and you can also find me on this channel as well too, doing more stuff with you, Steve. And you can also find me on Twitch as well too, under Galleghost 209, where I'm going to be playing GTA Vice City every now and again, and I'm also going to be playing some other things here and there as well too, and also commemorate the celebration of the Batman trailer coming out. I'm going to be playing some Arkham as well too, so tune into that channel. Again, twitter.tv, Galleghost209.
Well, good. As always, like our Max Payne vid, our Last of Us 2 vid, and our Metal Gear Solid vid, it's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, take care.
See you later.
What's that guy think this is, some fruity art crap? Who are these pricks anyway? Surrounded by pricks.